Hi guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Wedding Circle with me, Sophie Jane. It has been a little while since our last interview, so it feels so good to be back in the chair with my cup of tea and my laptop ready to record this next episode, which I know is going to be such an informative and lovely conversation with one of my favourite venues and one of the best wedding coordinators I know. Today's interview is with the exquisite Stubton Hall. My first ever visit to Stubton a few years ago, I was invited there to perform for one of their open days. And I remember so clearly as I arrived through the gates and drove up the driveway, literally saying out loud to myself, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And the wow factor doesn't just stop at the front door. Every inch of Stubton is incredible. The owners have beautifully and sympathetically restored every aspect of the hall, and the attention to detail from the restoration to the food and drinks menu to the staff who work there has been so carefully considered. It really, really is a must-see venue. Now, on to today's conversation. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Wedding Circle podcast. So for this episode, I have a very special venue on today. It's one of my favourite venues and one of the most beautiful and wonderfully restored venues that I've ever been to. So today I have Jenny from Stubton Hall. So Jenny, if you could tell me a little bit about the venue and where it is, and then tell me about yourself and sort of your role within the venue, that would be great.
Hey, Stubton Hall. So we are a very beautiful country house set on the Lincolnshire-Nottinghamshire border. So we're only a short drive from Newark, very, very local to all the roads, very, very easy to get to. So the house is set on like 23 acres of land, so it's all exclusively yours for the day. So it is beautiful, and I know I'm biased because I work there, but I think the great thing about it is that it is literally you, your family, and your friends. And I mean, there are a couple of other staff members helping about, but it is literally just you guys there for the day. So it is really, really lovely. So I'm the head of events at the venue. We have two other wedding coordinators that work with me, and then a few other kind of key members of staff and lots of bar and catering staff too. So my kind of main role is, I suppose, everything. So from the very beginning of the journey, like showing you around the hall, and then everything right up to fluffing up your dress before you walk down the aisle, which is one of my favourite little jobs.
That must be such a lovely job to have as well, sort of like seeing
It
and getting to
is.
know people from the very beginning, and then right until the moment they walk down the aisle, you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of moments during the day that I particularly love, and that is definitely one of them. Because yeah, I think you don't realise how much dress you've got behind you, but we're always there to kind of be looking perfect from all angles, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it is lovely, and I think as well it's about being there, but being a little bit invisible as well,
Oh
which is
yeah,
always
definitely.
cool.
I mean, I've been to quite a few weddings at Stubton now, and where you've been the wedding coordinator for that day, and I must say you make everything run so seamlessly. Yet
Hmm.
it's almost like you're not there. You kind of just nip in at the moments that you need to, sort of get everybody gathered around, or whatever, close any doors, like get
Yeah,
drinks out, that kind of thing, and
yeah,
then you're
yeah.
away again, so that the guests don't sort of see you sort of bumbling about. It's completely seamless.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. No, it's just about being super organized and lots and lots of meetings and things and making lots of notes, and then everything just works perfectly on the day.
Yeah. So if a couple are interested in booking Stubton Hall, so they come, they have a look round. Is it
Hmm.
with you and then with you for any sort of meetings and things going forward, or do they sort of see anybody that's available? How does that
So we
work?
have so we have a few members of staff that would show guests around as your kind of potential wedding venue, and then you'd be then passed over to one of us on the events team, so one of the three of us, and generally we all try to keep tabs on every wedding so that, if one of us has got the day off, the other one's working, but somebody calls, we can still answer questions and help. Um,
Yeah.
but you'd kind of be given a designated coordinator, I suppose, um, that would be that person that is there for you primarily through the majority of your journey. Um,
Yeah.
and it's nice because you do build relationships with people, and um, I even after 4 years, like there's still parts of the wedding where I'm holding back the tears, and because you have a
Oh,
connection with that person, and it is so lovely
yeah.
to have that, and to be part of someone's best day of their life. Uh,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
you're there and you get to see it.
Yeah. And I imagine, when people are looking for a venue and they come to somewhere like Stubton, they imagine it sort of, well, I would anyway, think, "Oh, this is gonna be quite a sort of, I don't know, maybe a bit of a corporate feel," but actually when you do meet you guys and
Hmm.
you in particular, it's such a warm welcome, and like
Mm.
you say, you develop a friendship with these
Yeah,
people, so
yeah,
no, I think that's a
absolutely.
really, really lovely touch. So Stubton is quite a big place. So one
Yes.
of the questions I wanted to ask was, how many guests can you accommodate? So for all the different parts of the day, so from the very maybe the night before even, during the ceremony and drinks, and then for the wedding breakfast and into the evening, what's the maximum
Hmm.
amount of guests you can have?
So we can seat up to 200 guests in the Orangery, so we can have a wedding ceremony in that room because we're licensed in 4 different rooms to have a civil ceremony, which means that we
Mhm.
can host up to 200 guests, but we can also do ceremonies of literally just two, which we have done before.
Ah,
Um,
really?
yeah, really, yeah, yeah. I didn't work that wedding, but it's one of those ones that uh, the coordinators at the time ended up being the witnesses. The couple just came, like,
Oh,
got married, and it was super duper lovely, like really, really nice.
yeah.
And then I think they had
Oh.
like a little picnic on the grounds and things. So like, we
Oh, that is
can,
so nice.
yeah,
That is
like we can
dreamy.
really, yeah, absolutely. Like we can really do from 2 to 200. Like when I say that, people are like, really? And I'm like, yes, really. Like, the venue is a big venue, but then you can kind of break it down into the main house and it feels a lot more intimate. For
Mhm.
under 50 guests is perfect because it just kind of feels like it's your house for the day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel too big. But likewise, we can do up to 200 guests. And then for the evening, we can have up to 250 guests. So even more room for more people if you couldn't quite squeeze them into the day.
And so what is, parking and facilities like for that many people? I imagine you're gonna have a lot of space. Like you say, you've got 23 acres, but obviously
Yes,
not all of
yeah.
that is gonna be suitable for the cars. So do you have a
Hmm.
sort of big area for people to come in and things?
Yes, yeah. So we've got two main car parks, I suppose. One which is at the back of the house, and ample amount of spacing there. And we try to keep the front of the house clear because it's so beautiful and it's such a lovely kind of opportunity for photos. So we'll try to keep the front of the house clear, so you can do group photos out there, or just couples photos. And generally, we don't necessarily even need to use that second car park because of how much space there is in the back one. So, yeah,
That's
all the
really good.
space.
That's such a great thing to think about, anybody that's looking for a venue to think about, if you're gonna have a really, big party of people arrive, so say
Hmm.
200 people, where are you gonna park them all? Because like you said, if there's no space for them and they're gonna have to all park in front of the venue, then that's gonna impact your photographs, your
Yeah,
videography, and just the overall sort of entry to your wedding day.
yeah,
So your guests are gonna arrive, park right outside, and it's not gonna have the same feel as if they were parked away and they could walk towards this
yeah,
beautiful building
yeah,
and then enter
definitely.
without having, all the cars and things around.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so with regards to, so you can have 250 people in the evening,
Hmm.
at the reception. How many bedrooms do you have if people wanted to stay over? How many can you accommodate there?
So we've got 25 bedrooms on site, so we can sleep up to 60 guests within those rooms because we've got some family rooms. Most of the rooms we can accommodate extra beds, cots, and things like that for little people. Um,
Oh,
so we still do have a lot of accommodation for people on site. So all the bedrooms vary in price, but they are paid upon departure. So we don't ask for any like payment in advance for them. Um, and the rooms are really, really lovely. They're all like completely different inside, like different styles. Some have got four poster beds, and
Oh,
when I
wow.
show people around them, uh, sometimes you walk into a room and people just are like, "Oh, this would be perfect for Aunt so and so," or "Oh gosh,
Oh,
this
really?
couple would
Yeah,
love this room." Yeah, because you just walk into somewhere and you see a color of a room or the style of it, and you're like, "Oh yeah, no, this person would love it," and automatically
Oh.
people are thinking like, "Oh yeah, no, I could have my wedding here. This would be lovely," like all those kind of things.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You want
Um,
it's almost like walking into your if you're looking to buy a house, as soon as you walk
yeah,
in, you get that feeling, and it's the
yeah,
same with a wedding venue. You have to have that feeling with every
definitely,
part of it. So, like
yeah.
we say, you drive up to it, the building, and then all the rooms as well. I mean, I've never been to any of the bedrooms at Stubton. Maybe I ought to have a little wander next time
Oh yeah,
I'm there.
absolutely.
So
They
20
are
did you say
beautiful.
25 bedrooms?
25, yes, yeah. And all of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bedrooms have got lovely, lovely views out onto the grounds because obviously we're surrounded by just Lincolnshire fields.
Yeah,
And
so nice.
it is lovely, and they're all en suite, so everybody has their own private bathrooms. They've all got individual heating, aircon, all those kind of things. So, you couldn't really want for much more. And it's great because
Yeah.
you can just go back up to your room as and when. For us girls, change of shoes, change of outfit. It's always great
Yeah,
to just be
spritz of
like,
perfume, that kind of thing.
yeah, just like pop upstairs, and then carry on
Yeah.
partying for the rest of the night.
That's such a great thing, yeah, that's what we loved about our wedding venue actually, was that we could just nip upstairs as and when we
Hmm.
wanted to the bedroom, and even just having a moment away actually
Yeah.
was really quite nice, like, looking I, like, went up a few times and just looked out the window at
Yeah.
all my guests. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, everybody's here, this is so
This
nice."
is my day.
So, can they stay a number of nights, or is it just the one night that you offer with your pack I don't know how it works with how many weddings you have,
Yeah.
sort of
So
one after another, so
yeah, absolutely. So it kind of depends the time of the year um as to what we can offer, I suppose. So generally speaking, we offer exclusive use of the hall and its grounds. So the exclusive use would start from 10:30 the morning of your wedding,
yeah,
and run right through till 10:30 the day after. Um, Now, if someone was looking at getting married kind of during the week, so in our quieter times, there would be the possibility to stay the night before, which
mhm,
is always quite nice because it's just like you've arrived, you haven't got to worry about, transporting everything the day, the morning of the wedding. You just kind of arrive, you relax, you check in, you bring the dress in, you bring everything in,
yeah,
and get to spend a little bit of time with kind of closest friends and family before, you know, the big day.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we
exactly.
can
Can you
we can
cater
host.
can you do a meal for them and things like that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can do a meal on site. The bar would be open as well, so even if you wanted to eat locally, because there's lots of lovely little pubs and things close to where we are.
Yeah,
So yeah, our bar would be open, and you could kind of, like I say, we want you to treat it like it's your house for the day. So there's no really strict rules, and we're not. Yeah, we're always very, very friendly, and kind of open to ideas. Most people want to stick to a regular kind of what's the word, like a structure for a wedding, but then some
yeah,
other people are like, we want to do this completely differently. um this is where we want to go with it. So that staying the night before is kind of part and part of that. And we have done it as well where people
yeah.
have extended their stay the day after the wedding, so have done like
Oh,
a little
nice.
little like barbecue in the afternoon, or done like picnic kind of thing, just so everyone's got that little bit longer together, because you just don't want the day to end. And it's lovely that
Mm,
you've got everybody together, because sometimes you don't see certain family members for such a long time because you're just busy with life. um,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's nice to be
exactly.
able to spend that bit longer with everybody.
Oh, that is so nice. Yeah, I love that, you've got this beautiful building that you can sort of treat as your own for a few days, but you've also got people on site to, to cater for you for meals and
Hmm.
like you said, the bar's open and all that kind of thing. It just makes it feel so special. I
Yeah.
would want to extend for as long as possible, please.
Yeah. Live in a little fairy like fantasy and like the little wedding
Yeah,
bubble, I suppose.
definitely.
Just like being that
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
is
nice, so nice.
lovely. Yeah.
So, so when it comes to planning their wedding then, it's obviously not just the venue that people need to consider. There's lots of other different suppliers
Hmm.
and people involved. So, um, I know with a venue, sometimes they have, in-house sort of florists or caterers. Do you have that, or is it just free for all? You can kind of have who you'd like. How does that work?
Yeah. So we have a suppliers list, which of course you found yourself on. So we have a lot of recommended suppliers who we work with, and we know them, and we build such a great relationship with them,
Yeah,
and they kind of become like an extended Stubton family, I suppose. Like we
yeah,
know they're going to turn up, do an awesome job on the day. It's just things like that. So yeah, we have a list of suppliers, but there's nothing stopping any of our couples picking their own suppliers. Um, just as long as we have some contact details, all the boring bits,
yeah,
and we know who's going to turn up and when they're going to turn up, um,
yeah,
and we will just kind of accommodate them and work with them. And
yeah,
most
yeah.
suppliers that
That's
come to the
great.
hall love coming, and they're always very excited to come and kind of shoot
Oh, yeah.
weddings
That's
or
me. I'm that
yeah.
person. If I've got a wedding at Stubton, I'm like, "Yes!" It's such a gorgeous venue. I love coming. I feel so looked after as a supplier as well, because not always do venues realise that, well, not maybe not realise is not the word, but so they don't often think about the suppliers. It's
Yeah,
just all about the bride and groom, but actually, if your suppliers are looked after as well, then they're gonna do a better job for the bride
yeah,
and groom, and
yeah,
therefore, the wedding's gonna be even more seamless, and I do
yeah,
feel like that with Stubton. I come along and it's just like being with a group of friends.
yeah.
I
No,
love it.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's very. I think we think it's really important, and I think it's important that you build those relationships with people. Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of you must visit so many different venues and speak to so
Oh,
many
yeah,
different
yeah,
people, and you know, word of mouth. Um, just a simple oh, Subton, da 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 da. It can
yeah.
soon spread, and it all kind of comes together, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because if I, as a supplier, love a venue, then I'm definitely gonna recommend it to
Hmm.
anybody that I know that's looking for somewhere. The first place that's gonna come out of my mouth is somewhere that I feel is not only, wonderful and gorgeous and the perfect wedding venue, but also has great staff and the wedding coordinators know what they're
Hmm.
working, I don't know, they've been doing it for they've got experience and they kind of know the important bits, like you said earlier, is, making lots of notes, having lots of meetings, like all of that
Hmm.
is comes with, with time and with experience, and I think it just speaks volumes when the wedding day goes so seamlessly. I did a
Mm.
wedding for you, like it would have been last year, and, I don't know if it was that particular wedding or we were talking about another wedding, and I remember you saying, "No, weddings don't run late here." Like, that just
Yeah.
doesn't happen. We're just so on the ball with everything.
Yeah.
Everything just runs so seamlessly, nothing goes wrong.
Yeah,
That's
I
they
know. And
can't, can they? They
no,
just can't.
no, not at all. And that's why we have all these meetings, and we go through everything, the right from the time that everyone will be arriving right through till what time everybody's leaving. And um you know there's so much that we do as staff that guests don't realize, and the couple don't realize, and they don't necessarily need to realize that it's going on, but it's all happening in the background.
Yeah,
And just
exactly.
everything's ticking over nicely, and it just makes the day lovely.
So when it comes to a wedding day, a typical wedding day, I know you said that some weddings can be, as an non-traditional, shall we say,
Mhm.
but a
Mhm.
more structured traditional wedding day. You said you've got from 10:30 in the morning
Yeah.
exclusive use of the venue. So
Yeah.
the bride and, groom both arrive at the same time, or does one party arrive separately? Do they have separate rooms they can go into if they don't want to see each other before the actual ceremony? How does the morning of a wedding usually work?
Yeah. So we have so I suppose we've got a couple of scenarios. So if, for example, you're arriving on the day of your wedding and we haven't had a wedding the day before, then as the bridal party, you can arrive from as silly o'clock as the makeup and hairstylists say, because it's an early start. Um,
They do love
you
an
know,
early start, don't they?
they do. They
5
sure
a.m.,
do.
6 a.m.
Yeah, like, okay, okay, we'll be here. Um, so if like I say, if we haven't got a wedding on the day before, so the day of the wedding, you can arrive from silly o'clock, and be
Yeah,
straight up in the bridal suite and be getting ready. So taking the time, if there's quite a few people that need hair and makeup doing, obviously it does take a little while to get through everybody. So it's just kind of you're starting, you're upstairs, you're hidden away, and kind of, I suppose, locked away like a princess in a tower.
yeah.
Of course of course you can have a wander around if you wanted to. But it's just you're kind of upstairs, and then that means that groom's party or other family and friends can arrive, and they can get checked into their bedrooms, and kind of do what they need to do to be ready for the ceremony. Um,
Yeah.
and then also on the other side of things, should we've had so obviously summer months for us are very very busy, and we'll be doing consecutive weddings, which is very normal. And as I say, like we are very um, we've done this a few times, so we're quite good
Yep.
at what we do. Um,
Yep.
so we would have a wedding. So the wedding guests from the day before your wedding would still be around, but they'd be having breakfast. They'll be walking in the grounds, and we do have a separate room that enables the bridal party for the day of the wedding to come and still be able to start to get ready. So it's just that's going on. You're making a start on hair and makeup. You're just having a glass of bubbly and that kind of thing, and enjoying the the prep, I suppose.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and then we would have that bridal party upstairs in the bridal suite, from for 11 o'clock. So you'd still have plenty of
Okay.
time
Yeah.
to have all the lovely photos in the bridal room, and I suppose you just kind of leave the mess downstairs and go upstairs and finish off.
Yeah.
So
That's a
it's
great
it's
idea, actually.
yeah.
When I got ready for my wedding, we looking back at all the photographs, in the background of all my photos is, like, bottles of water, hair dryers on the floor, our clothes, the kids, just
Yeah,
food. If we'd have
yeah.
had somewhere else to get ready and then gone to the bridal suite and actually had our photographs taken, that would have made far more sense.
You live and learn, eh?
Oh, yeah. If I ever do it again, next
Yeah.
time.
But, obviously all
Oh,
those things are part of the morning, but I think it's just nice to be able to, like, leave the mess, move on.
yeah.
We do some nice photos and things now. So, um,
Once everybody's ready and sort of the ceremonies, say within half an hour, the ceremony's gonna be starting and you've got most of the guests have arrived downstairs,
yeah,
everybody's seated. Who comes and gets, the bride ready, and
yeah,
says, "Come on, you need to come down now." Is that
yeah.
does she need to keep an eye on the time, or is this
Oh
somebody that's
gosh.
gonna keep an eye on everything?
Yeah, so that would be the coordinator. So they'd be there on the day, you know, because yeah, you'd be the one there on the day, just kind of making sure that things are running to time. So about half an hour before the ceremony, if you're having the civil ceremony, you have to go and do your pre-ceremony checks with the registrars. So we kind of take
Of course.
people in to do that. And yes, so it would be one of us that would come upstairs, just to be like, you've got 10 minutes, you've got 5 minutes,
Yeah.
I'm here, it's happening, we're going.
Come on,
um,
let's go.
yeah. So then one of the the loveliest features in the house is the staircase. So
Oh, I love the staircase.
bride and the bridesmaids will come down the stairs and get those classic kind of Stubton photos, um, walking down to go, marry the love of your life. And it's such a special moment. It's another one of those like, this is so lovely. I love my job. This is like the loveliest thing. Um,
Oh,
so yeah, we'd get you downstairs. You do your pre-ceremony checks with the registrars, and then we'd be ready and waiting um, for the for whatever time the ceremony
yeah.
was outside the music room to uh,
And then at this
what
point, you've made sure that every guest is seated and
yeah.
waiting patiently and hopefully quiet. That's one of the problems I have with being a musician and standing in the room, and if everybody is there chit-chatting away, it's
Yeah.
like, "Be quiet, please."
Yes.
So what I tend to do actually is sort of play some music, as I would as everybody's coming in and taking their seats and things, but I always sneak in a couple of minutes before I know she's about to walk in, of silence, and it almost makes everybody go, and then they all stop talking. So it's a good little trick. A couple of minutes
That
of
is a good trick.
silence, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
but
because nobody dares
so then
talk.
exactly. So then you'll have your, bridal party waiting outside the door,
Hmm.
because you're the one that's gone over to get her from where
Yeah.
she is in her room. I guess then you open the door, and then who are you looking for to sort of give the nod? How does everybody know to stand? How does that work for the ceremony?
Yeah, so we have a little secret code with the registrars, I suppose. So we kind of
Ah,
prompt each other. So it's almost like a nod to her to be like, I've got the bride. She nods back to be like, okay, I'll do my thing.
yeah,
So I suppose it just comes with practice. It's just subtle little things that we're looking out for and we know we need to listen for, and the prompts to get the bridal party in. So obviously, we will nod to the registrars to say, okay, we're ready. The registrar will say what they need to say, and then it'll then be back to us to kind of nod to you to start playing music, to for the bridal party to walk down to.
yeah, yeah. And then once they're in, that's sort of the registrars take over from there,
Yeah.
um, and a sort of wedding runs as it would. And then once the ceremony has finished, one of the questions I wanted to ask was, so with regards to your reception drink, so straight after the ceremony,
Hmm.
normally the guests at the weddings I've been to would go for a confetti throw. So whether that's
Yes.
outside the front, outside the back of the venue,
Yeah.
and then you have an amount of time before you sit down for your wedding breakfast, your sort of your meal.
Yeah.
Are you the guys that say, right, this is how long it needs to be, or do the bride and groom get some sort of say over this sort of period of the day?
Yeah, so everything's kind of finalised about 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding date. So we'd sit down and have a meeting and discuss timings. So generally in the summer, we'd kind of look at like an hour and a half to 2 hour drinks reception, because you don't want it too long, but you don't want it too short, because you
Mm.
want to be able to actually enjoy the time with your guests. Um, and be able to speak to people and enjoy a drink, and if you're having canapes, that kind of thing. And if it's a lovely day, to be able to be outside on the terrace just kind of soaking up the sun, and
Oh, yeah.
enjoying the day is so lovely. Um, so it is all kind of pre-organized, I suppose, and kind of goes back to, we've been hosting weddings for 11 years at Stubton. um, so we know what works well in terms of the length of the drinks reception. But of course, if the couples had, a few, if they were doing outdoor games, or we've had things like bouncy castles before.
Mhm.
People have hired like mini golf course and things. So people
Oh,
might need a little bit longer to be able to enjoy those things. So we just kind of adjust the timings, I suppose, according to what people want and what they've got planned.
yeah, yeah. And so, the drinks that you sort of handing out, as soon as everybody leaves the ceremony room, the sort of reception drinks,
Yeah.
as you would call them,
Hmm.
and also I was gonna ask about canapés. Are these all included in your wedding packages, or these extras that couples can add in?
Yeah, so we've kind of got three different tiers of wedding packages. So we've got the lovely package, fancy package, and the extravagant package. So within each package, they all do include two drinks per person during the drinks reception.
Oh,
So
nice.
our lovely package includes prosecco. It could be a beer. We could do Pimm's if it's a summer wedding,
Oh,
gin and tonic because that's quite a popular option at the minute. We always have soft drinks available as well because, it's just nice to be able. Some people don't necessarily want alcoholic drinks all the time, so we've always got soft drinks available.
who are these
So yeah,
people?
within yeah. So yeah, within the different packages, it's always two drinks, but it's either a prosecco or it's an in-house champagne or it's like Verve, so a branded champagne.
Yeah.
And again, with the packages, fancy and extravagant both include canapes, but the ca- the packages aren't kind of set in stone. They are there as a guidance. Some people loved
Mhm.
coming and just being like, great, everything's there, wonderful, I'm having that one. Other people would
Yeah.
really want to pick them apart and be like, oh, I really like that from that one. And then can I add this into this? And we just make a
Oh,
bespoke
I like that. So you
package.
can kind of mix and match. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, they're just there as a guidance. And they, like I say, they work for most people, but it's some people really prefer to just be like, oh no, I really like this, but I want to add it with this.
Yeah, so
So
you're not
yeah,
sort of stuck with having to have, certain package features that
no,
you don't necessarily want. Yeah, I
yes,
like that.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, we're always kind of open to whatever anyone's got to say with their idea of that, because it's their day, it's your day, it's um,
Yeah.
how you've seen your wedding, how you'll have been to other friends' weddings or family weddings and been like, oh, I've liked that they did there. Like, I wonder if I could do that for my wedding. So, we
Yeah.
within reason, we really want to be able to kind of create, the dream, I suppose.
Yeah. The dream day, sort of as
Yeah.
to how they would want it. No, I really
Yeah.
like that. And then obviously, you cater for the wedding breakfast. So,
Yes.
the weddings that I've been to that have been quite large have been down, is it in the Orangery, the bigger room?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and you would sort of guide everybody over to the wedding breakfast room. And I want to ask if you had set meals for this, or is it sort of what the bride and groom would want? Because
Hmm.
with our wedding, we just had a kind of free for all barbecue, so it was just
Okay.
whatever. But
That's cool.
with a sit down meal, is it like they have to choose from a menu? How does it work?
Yeah. So with the packages, we have the lovely fancy extravagant. So the menu is kind of set out. So you'll pick one starter, one main, and one dessert for the guests. Anybody with dietary requirements, we will cater for them additionally, no extra charge, and we can quite easily adapt most of the menu to kind of suit them, so they won't end up having like a completely different meal and feel like completely isolated from everybody else.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, so we'd ask that you pick one starter, one main, one dessert, and everybody would have the same option. We can offer options. There's just an additional charge per person to do
Mm.
so. So you could choose to just give everybody the same starter, for example, but then offer like two meat choices and a vegetarian choice for the main course,
Mhm.
and then give everybody the same dessert. So we kind of work both ways really with that.
I see, yeah, yeah. Again, you can kind of pick and choose it as you wish
Yeah.
from what you supply. So you supply a menu, you guys can choose whatever you want, but they can, like you say, they can have a fixed starter, but then have options for the main. I see.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, okay. And if couples want to try the food beforehand, is that an option as well? Do you offer tasting?
Yeah, so we do a wine and canapé tasting event. So we do a couple of those through the year. So
Hmm.
that's an event that we invite a few couples to, usually on like a Sunday afternoon. So you get to try a selection of the canapés, you'll try the wines, you'll try the fizz. So you just get to pick everything out ready for your wedding.
Yeah.
And then in regards to food tasting, so our caterers, so we have caterers that work for us. We don't have kind of like a chef who's here on site all the time. So the
Oh,
caterers
I see.
come when we have a wedding on. So
Hmm.
in regards to doing a food tasting, um, we do this when the chefs are in for a wedding, which
Yeah.
sounds really odd, but we want the couple to experience the food exactly how it is on the day of their wedding. Because
Yes. Yeah.
I
That's a
could
big
cook a meal
thing.
for two people. I could not cook a
Yeah.
meal for 200.
Yeah. No, I've definitely I mean, I've seen a couple of weddings actually where they've said, "Oh, the food's not as been as good as we thought it was gonna be," because when they went for their tasting, it was just them 2 and
Yeah.
the chef made an exquisite meal for 2 people,
Mhm.
but when,
Mhm.
like you say, catering for 200 people, it's
Yeah.
completely different ballgame.
Completely. Yeah, absolutely. And our caterers are incredible at what they do. And, I, like I say, I can cook for two, completely different doing it for a huge amount of people. But I say it is
Yeah.
something that we can offer. We just have to kind of work it into our diary
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
figure that out. Yeah.
That's good, that's good. And, with regards to wine on the table, does that come as part of a package as well, or is
It,
that an extra? Because 'Cause I've seen it quite a few times where, there's sort of like a house wine available on each table.
mhm. Yeah. So within each of the packages, so say you've got the two drinks for the drinks reception, and then there's a half a bottle of wine per person during the meal, and a glass of fish for speeches. So there's actually quite a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
alcohol included.
That is a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me gone.
So so yeah, with the meal, so we'd always put a bottle of red and a bottle of white on each table. We do offer rosé as well, if couples
Mhm.
wanted to add that in. So we'd always start out with one of each on the table. Um,
Yeah.
and then our staff will just basically keep going around and replacing the bottles. So guests will serve themselves to as much or as little wine as they like, and we'll just
Wow.
keep replacing the bottles because so there'll be a set allocation of wine that
Mhm.
we just keep giving out until it's gone. So we do tend
Gosh.
to find that we tend to find that one table will drink a lot of white, one will drink a lot of red, one's just like whatever's come in, we'll drink it.
Yeah, yeah,
The one with the table with like grandma and granddad on, they're being all sensible, not drinking so much. So it kind of
yeah,
gets kind of spread out between everybody.
yeah, distributed
Um,
evenly. That's good. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
And then obviously you have a bar down in the Orangery as well,
yes,
so people can get up and order drinks if they don't want to drink wine or
yep,
fizz, they can go and order themselves a beer or a gin, like you say, from the bar.
yep. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the bar's always open during the meal. So yeah, there's you don't have to just drink the wine. You can come and get something else.
yeah, that's great. And if somebody's having a smaller wedding and they don't want, to have that big room, is there another option, sort of maybe a smaller part of the building, up the main house maybe for a meal?
Yeah. So we have the conservatory as well, so we can seat up to 60 in that space. Yeah, so we can seat up to 60 people in the conservatory, and it's actually a really beautiful space because you're still looking out into the grounds. It just is a
Mm,
little bit more intimate. You can see everybody in there, and it's still a really beautiful space to have your wedding breakfast.
yeah, yeah.
We can also do a meal in the music room, which is the room that you would have the ceremony.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple of different options basically. Like I say, there's four rooms that are licensed for the civil ceremony. So you could actually get married in the conservatory and then eat in the music room, or vice versa. There's no
Mhm.
kind of right or wrong way to do it. Like I say, it's just how you kind of see your wedding, I suppose, and
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
the space and how the space kind of feels for you, and
Fits.
some
Yeah, I
yeah,
suppose as well it depends on the time of year that you're planning on
yes,
getting married because, Stubton sort of caters for each season. I
Mhm.
feel at Stubton, you would go for a different room.
Yeah.
I've seen Stubton in a really gorgeous sunny day. The music room's bright and airy and beautiful. But then I've also been around Christmas time when you've got all the twinkly lights out the front and
Mhm.
everything. And the conservatory, you had set out all candles and lights, and it was
Yeah.
absolutely stunning. Sort of in the
Yeah.
evening time as the sun's going down would
Yeah.
be amazing to have, like, a candlelit meal with a small
Yeah,
amount
it's
of people.
beautiful. Mhm.
Yeah, so I guess when people are looking for a venue, they have to consider at what time of the year are they planning on getting married, and does this
Mhm.
venue suit their, idea of a perfect wedding?
Absolutely. And I think it's also really important to have, um, we live in the UK. We have no expectations of the weather because, we're in the middle of July right now and I've had a jumper on all day.
I
Um,
know.
and, so for our venue, like there's so many beautiful spaces indoors that if it was absolutely chucking it down on your wedding day, you still wouldn't feel like you were missing out on anything by not being able to go outside. So
Yeah.
having lots of different spaces indoors, and like you say, like if it's in the winter, like it goes dark at 4, 5 ish, candles,
Mhm.
fairy lights, all those kind of things just look stunning. um
Yeah.
and equally in the summer, you've got the longer nights, you can be out in the gardens. It's
Mhm.
Yeah, it is beautiful kind of for all seasons.
Yeah, it really is. I do really think it comes alive at Christmas time, though.
Hmm.
And you've got your big Christmas tree in
Yeah.
the main hall. It feels strange talking about Christmas in the middle of July, but I feel it's worth it because Stubton is
Yeah.
just so special at Christmas. With a really big Christmas tree in the sort of entrance hall, and then you've got the lights that hang down at the front, near the pillars.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sort of like curtains of fairy lights. They're
Yeah.
just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
I
they
did a
are.
wedding last Christmas for a couple, just before Christmas, and they had some really lovely photographs taken in those lights. Just
Hmm.
stunning.
They are, and it's when every year when they go down, we're always like, "Oh, they've gone. It's so sad." Um,
Oh.
but they're so special when they're up, and it's just lovely because summer weddings, you get the full use of the grounds, you see everything around you, whereas in the winter it goes dark very quickly. So to have those
Mhm.
extra lights outside, it is so there's something so magical about it, I suppose.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
adds to
it
that
makes such a
kind of
difference.
festive.
It does feel strange talking about Christmas in the middle of
It
July, though.
does.
I feel like we should move on. Oh gosh. So into the evening then, you know, I guess there's a couple of different options with how an evening can go. So let's talk about a bigger wedding, so sort of 200
Mhm,
guests, that kind of
mhm.
thing. It's gonna turn into a bit of a big party.
Yeah.
Do you have facilities for live bands and, perhaps DJs and things? Do you recommend different people? Like you say, you've got a supplier list. Do you have a recommended DJ, sort of that kind of thing?
Yeah, so, yeah, we have a DJ who's, fairly local to Stubton, really, really awesome, not a typical wedding disco,
Yeah.
just like cheesy,
Clear the
cheesy,
floor with one
cheesy.
song.
Oh
Oh.
goodness. Yeah, they are not like that at all. They'll if you say to them, "This is our playlist, only play this," they'll do that.
Mhm.
If you kind of say, "Oh, we really love this person, this person, this person, but throw the odd cheese ball in there as well,"
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing. So yeah, they're awesome at what they do. We've got a few bands as well on our suppliers list. But
Mhm.
as I said, there's nothing that's stopping you bringing whoever you want in. Um,
Yeah.
there's so much space for bands. We've had, I think it was a 13-piece band once. Like
Wow.
it was,
That is a
yeah, it was,
lot.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was definitely over 10. There was a lot of them. But there was still enough space for us to have like a full dance floor. We still had tables around for people to sit down on.
Yeah.
So that it's just, I suppose some people want the live band experience, other people are happy with the DJ. So, you know, we we'll kind of work with whoever's coming to make it
Yeah.
all
And
work.
this all happens in the same space that everybody were to sit and have their meal? So when the evening guests arrive, are they sort of guided into the same space where everybody's already mingling about, or is it a completely separate part of the venue?
Yeah, so the great thing about the Orangery is that like once you're in that space, you're in it. So you'll have your wedding breakfast in there, the main bar is in there, the evenings in there. Like the furthest guests have to go is down the corridor to the toilets, and then it's back in, back on the dance floor.
Yeah.
So it's a great open space. And so as I've said about this, we have our final meeting. We would discuss about when the evening guests would be arriving. So we'd always make sure that the meal and the speeches were finished well in advance of evening guests arriving, because there's nothing worse than your new guests are arriving and you're still midway through eating your meal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so we always make sure there's enough space in between, enough time in between that.
Yeah.
And that then means that when the evening guests arrive, um, the room has been tidied up. We're kind of almost ready to go for the evening. It might just be that we're waiting for the final bits of the band to finish up setting, or they're doing a sound check or something.
Mhm.
But yeah, they'd be kind of guided into the Orangery. The bar's open, they can get a drink, and maybe there's a sweet cart or some donuts or something to um,
Yeah.
all the nice sweet treats.
Yeah.
Those bits of things.
Yes.
There's always like your guest book. There's someone might have like
Yeah, of
a
course, yeah. Photo
photo booth.
booth.
Yes,
Yeah.
those bits of
Okay,
things, just
cool.
to kind of keep people busy for a little while before the
Yeah.
music starts.
Yeah, I see. And does the cutting of the cake and the first dance happen once the evening guests have arrived, or does this happen before?
It
Because
does
'Cause I'm
generally
often gone,
happen.
actually.
Yeah. It does generally happen once the evening guests arrive, because I think it's quite a nice like start to the evening.
Oh, I
Um,
see. Yeah.
it kind of, the cake cutting is almost like, come on, gather round, everybody, get back together. We do the
Oh,
cake cutting and then move straight into the first dance. And then, you know, as little or as much of a first dance as the couple wants
mhm.
happens. And then it's like, everybody on the dance floor, let's just start the party kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
I see. And then it's
it kind
just
of,
a sort of free.
yes.
And what time does everybody have to be gone by? Do you have a curfew, or can this go on all night? Please don't.
I mean, gosh, if everybody had the energy to do so,
Yeah.
it's so we everything finishes at midnight in the Orangery.
Mhm.
So the party will finish at midnight, and then any guests that are staying in the house can obviously kind of just go back off to bed. It's such a long day, like a wedding day is so long, people kind of forget
It
that.
is. Yeah.
Especially for the bridal party, the hairdressers have got them up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's
Yeah.
a long, long, long day. It's a really
Mhm.
emotional day, like it's so exciting, like so much has happened, and you get to midnight and you kind of like, do you know what? I've had the best day, but my feet hurt. I'm a bit tired now.
Yeah.
Um,
Exhausted. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like been partying all night and just chatting to everybody, enjoying themselves. So midnight is like a good cut-off point. But for
Yeah.
any guests that are staying in the house, in one of the bedrooms, we do reopen up our chocolate bar, which is the bar up in the main house. So it's open as like a residency bar.
Mhm.
So it just means that, if you want to put your slippers on, you can get your slippers on, you can go sit and you can chill with people a bit longer, and just
Oh,
have a
that's
little bit
nice.
longer with everybody. Um, and that bar would close for 1 o'clock, which would mean that the bar staff
Mhm.
could go home. But if you wanted to stay up till 2 o'clock, just sitting, chatting with everybody, that's absolutely fine. Um,
Yeah.
there's no bedtime basically. But like I say, it gets to a little bit after 12, 1 o'clock, and people are like, I'm just really tired now. Like I've had a wonderful day, but it's time for
Shattered, yeah.
bed.
Time for bed for
Yeah,
everyone. Yeah, yeah. No,
yeah.
I think that's so true. People plan these wedding days, and they cram as much in as they possibly
Hmm.
can, right from the morning right through to the end. They don't
Yeah,
realise that actually this is an exhausting day, and you're just
it
gonna wanna
is.
go straight to sleep. Yeah,
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 yeah.
totally. And then so they can stay the night, and then did you say it was until 10:30 for the next day? If they can
Yeah,
extend if they want to, like, it's
yeah,
pretty flexible with regards to what happens the next day?
yeah. So obviously, if we have a wedding the next day, then that 10:30 is 10:30, unfortunately, because we have to get ready for the
Yeah.
next guests. But if we haven't got a wedding or an event on the next day, then yes, of course, we can plan something else a little bit, later on in the afternoon. But breakfast is included in the price of all the bedrooms, um, which means that everybody can come down together. You do see some people like they can't talk, they can't function, they just about manage to say, "Please, can I have some coffee?" And that's them done. That's breakfast.
That's
But
so
it's just lovely because you get that little bit longer with everybody. Um,
mhm.
so you get big fat, full English breakfast basically, all the food, and leave with very very full happy bellies, which
Oh,
is
that is so
what you
great.
need.
Sounds idyllic. Honestly, it sounds absolutely
Mm.
perfect. It really does. That's the kind of vibe we were going for when booking our wedding was just we wanted it just to be super, super chilled, and it's
Mhm.
exactly but I got married before I started working in the wedding industry, so had never
Yeah.
heard of Stubton. Damn.
Oh.
I know, I know. But here
Oh,
we are, hey. At least I get to still
yeah,
visit and see and
you
work
do,
with you
you
guys and
do.
see the venue and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
I think we've probably covered literally everything. I think we must have.
yeah.
Do you think I
I
don't think
I
there's
think
anything we've
so.
missed, is there?
No, I think, there is a lot to a wedding day, but I think we've definitely touched on like the main things that people ask, and want
Yeah.
to know about the venue, definitely.
So if people want to see Stubton, they can visit, so they can get in touch with you guys and visit. But if they want to just have a look at some photographs, I guess you've got Instagram,
Yeah.
website. Do you want to tell us where people will be able to find you?
Yeah, so our website, we've got all of our packages, lots and lots of pictures. We've also got lots of real weddings featured on there. So that's just stubtonhall.co.uk. And yeah, everything's on there. Social media, always try to keep that updated with lots of things. And um, yeah, social media, again, just at Stubton Hall, we're on there.
Mhm.
Facebook as well, lots and lots of pictures again, and just
Yeah.
you know, we also have a Pinterest board as well, actually, which is always a lovely thing to start looking at
Oh, nice.
when
Yeah,
planning
because people
weddings.
love to go on Pinterest when,
Yeah.
planning their wedding for inspiration. So if
Hmm.
they can actually pin images of Stubton and,
Yeah.
when they're planning their wedding, it's like, this is actually what we can have. This is not sort of some
Yes.
pipe dream that we've
No,
seen
no.
from, that's brilliant.
No,
Great
absolutely.
idea.
Absolutely.
Okie dokie. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we've probably covered everything. So if people want to visit, they can go www.stubtonhall.co.uk.
.co.uk, yeah.
Was it? Or .com?
Yeah.
Yep, and then it's
.co.uk,
at
yeah.
Stubton Hall on social media, so that's great. So yeah, I think we've probably covered it all, and I want to thank you for coming on this evening and taking how long have we been on now? Like over an hour out of your evening to chat
No,
to me
it's
about your
been
venue.
lovely.
It from experience, I've been a fair few times over to Stubton now, and it is definitely up there as one of my all-time favourite venues. As I said at the beginning, actually, of the podcast, it's not only just a beautiful venue, but it's been so sympathetically restored as well.
Mhm.
Um, I forgot to ask you a bit maybe of the history of Stubton. Do you know what it was prior to being a wedding venue?
So
Was it a
it
school?
was, yeah, so it was a school. So it was owned by Lincolnshire County Council, and was a school for a long time. And then it was closed down. So it was kind of derelict and untouched for quite a few years before the owners bought it.
Ah,
And then the owners have spent, a lot of money, a lot of time restoring it back to
mm.
the beautiful house that it is, because the council kind of, ripped out all the original beautiful things that were there to make it
Oh,
more functional for a school, as you
why
would.
would they
I
do that?
know, I know, it's so sad,
Oh,
isn't it? So sad.
yeah,
Um, and then, yeah, spent time putting all those things back in. But they have done
yeah.
an incredible
You can
job,
tell.
and yeah.
They really have every single detail. I mean, the first
Hmm.
time I visited, I came home and I said to my husband, I was like, "Everything has been considered. Everything. The door
Hmm.
handles, the door switch, the light
Hmm.
switches, just
Yeah,
the colours, the light fitting. Everything has been thought
yeah.
about. There is not an inch of that place that isn't exquisitely restored. I just love it.
No.
It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, it is great. So yeah, so thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think we've answered loads of questions for anybody
Mhm,
looking for a venue. Covered all areas of a wedding. So if anybody does want to get in touch with Jenny at Stubton Hall, then feel free. She is more than welcoming and a warm. She'll give you a warm welcome and show you around, and you can see the beautiful venue. It's easy to sort of talk about it and say how wonderful it is. And
mhm.
obviously, I will share photographs of the venue as well. But it's not the same. You have to visit.
No,
You have to go and see.
no, absolutely. I
Yeah,
think we
definitely.
can post all the pictures in the world, but until you drive up the
Yeah,
drive, you come into their main
yes,
entrance
yeah,
and you're like, "Oh my goodness, this is
yeah.
special." Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, I think we'll finish it there. So thank you so much for coming on, and
Thank you.
hopefully we'll be able to see each other soon once all of this
Fingers
pandemic
crossed.
has ended.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know it's been dreadful, but yeah, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Now, if that doesn't make you want to visit Stubton, then I don't know what will. As Jenny said, you can see photos of the hall on their website, www.stubtonhall.co.uk, with lots of real weddings featured, or you can go to their social media pages at Stubton Hall. And once again, thank you so much for listening and making it this far with me. Honestly, I am so blown away by the response I get from you all when a new episode comes out, and the listens, likes and shares mean so much to me and mean that I can then reach and hopefully inspire and help more and more couples planning their big day. This year has been such a difficult time for everyone in the wedding industry, and for all the couples that have had to reschedule. I really hope this podcast can remind you that your wedding day is still allowed to be the most exciting celebration of your lives, and that planning should be just as exciting as the day itself. This pandemic won't go on forever, and whether you have a smaller, more intimate wedding this year, or you wait until you've got all of your friends and family with you, love is never cancelled. Thanks again, and see you next time.